Excellent. Oh, and then we missed.
There we go. Everyone gets that same pop-up on Zoom.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Got it. Hello.
Happy Monday evening, everyone. Welcome to Star Wars Rebels Revisited. We've got a full house today. It's boys' night over at Rebels Revisited. There's a lot of us.
Famous last words there, sir. You might be kicking off syndication after this episode.
So, as you guys might know, Ashley is away. She is enjoying her time down in Orlando. She was working a convention this past weekend. Spooky something.
Spooky Empire. And I think other than Celebration, this was the one con that I was very upset that I missed because I'm a diehard Twin Peaks fan since day one, and they had 15 cast members from Twin Peaks, including Kyle MacLachlan, who's only done one other con in the world. But Ashley worked that show. The pictures look great. There was how do you say I guess when I say Dick in the Box, but it was Halloween.
I saw that, the Halloween version. Yeah.
But they had
David S. Pumpkins in the box.
Yeah. The very special Christmas gift in their black and orange suits. I saw that. Yeah. She also had one where Michael Myers had a knife to her neck. That seemed to be a popular photo around. I'm a big horror guy myself, and of course I work for a Halloween company. I go to Chiller every year, and I went to Monster Mania twice last year. Those were good conventions. I've never been to the spooky, but it is going to be on my list now, and I'm going to get a full recap from Ashley when she gets back. But welcoming everyone, I'm seeing everyone joining in. I see Sarah and Jen and Dave and Sherry.
Surprise!
On the panel
tonight,
we've got Spencer, Dave, Jeff. Jeff is on camera. We let him out of his little cage. We got this is the Thursday night crew over here. So I specifically asked that they would bring the chaos because we're not doing a watch along tonight. We're doing like a listicle of Ahsoka moments. So I think it's just going to go like off the rails as we go through our little list over here.
Very likely.
Well, thank you very much for having us tonight. As Dave said, it takes three of us to, cover what Ashley does.
And still will not cover the amount of content that one actually will cover. Still not.
No, but we like to bring like you said, we like to bring the chaos, and I think that's what we're here for. So thank you very much.
So first off, what is everyone got planned for Halloween? Because next week on my show, we have a pre-record. We're doing our spooky watch along. So we have already recorded it. So everyone have no fear. Ashley did this before she left for her trip. We dressed up. We celebrated Halloween early. We're ready to go for Monday while everyone else is out partying. Then you can watch after the fact. But what do you guys have planned for Halloween coming up? Anything good?
I'm going to be hitting neighborhoods with my daughter, who has decided she's, too old to hang out with me, so she doesn't have the matching costume with me. It's a matching costume with her friends. And I have to do some last minute alterations because I can't be the copy pants because I saw your costume from this weekend, Mark. I'm gonna have to change to Rooster or Goose. I don't know.
Oh, were you going as Maverick?
Yes.
So I will tell you, mine is an off the rack Ruby's costume. We've had the Top Gun license forever. My other business at Ruby's is Viacom, which includes Paramount, and Top Gun's been a strong seller for us forever. But because of the movie, it became an even bigger hit this year. So I got some flight suits for me and a bunch of my friends, and I've got actually funny enough, they're sitting right here. The glasses, the aviators. They really make it. So I've got aviators. I got the black cap, the flight suit. They're all terribly ill-fitting. And of course, all my gay friends were like, I want something tighter that actually shows off my body. And I was like, first of all, no. But it actually looks like a really good costume when you put the pieces together. And if you just get some fake dog tags to go with it too, it really, it makes it work.
Well, I think I'm pulling Ruby's stuff for you. I'm doing an older version. I think it was a patch set. Not the I'm putting those on a flight suit, but
you're going all out. Ours are not. They're not patches. They do look like patches. There's some type of print. We also have a real leather jacket though. That's really nice. The leather jacket from Top Gun is fantastic. Tell us in the comments, everyone, what you're doing for Halloween, like what you're dressing as. Who's going as a Star Wars character? Because I've got Star Wars costumes. I've got several lined up, and it's going to roll into Rhode Island Comic-Con, where we're going to see several of these guys.
That's pretty much my Halloween weekend plan plans is next Friday, meeting up with my virtual Cantina family, with a lot of us. Well, not a lot of us. I'm an hour away, but a lot of people flying in or driving up from various places because of this Star Wars lineup. This Star Wars lineup is absolutely fantastic.
It's really strong.
So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. You know, I'll be there on Friday. I'm going to be assisting one of our members who agents Lauren Mary Kim at the event. So very excited about that. And we're going to meet up afterwards, which is always fun. As Mark says, where he doing this show. So we're excited about that.
I refer to Rhode Island Comic Con as the scene of the crime. So this is where I was voluntold, the word I used last week, about this show. And I will say I've always loved Rhode Island Comic Con, and it's always been special for me. It's where I brought Hayden for his one-off. It's where I first met Zach McGinnis and started hiring a lot of his people to sign autographs for us. It's where I really got deep into the convention scene. It's where I met Lainey. It's like where it's all like who's a talent agent who I work with, and she actually represented Omid Abtahi. That's her company that is his rep. So, and that's where I had dinner with Eric Bowersfeld and Jerome Blake and met Daniel Logan. Like these are Jeremy Bullock and all these people. Like Rhode Island's always been special. And then it's where we formed the show. You guys invited me to do the Darksaber thing. And then we created Rebels Revisited at that table at Dave and Buster's. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. And now we have merch.
Keep copying each other. What's up with that?
Yeah. I almost wore the blue is what I was saying before this, but orange is like such a Halloween color, and we are in deep in spooky season at this point.
Yes.
So by the way,
what's the subject du jour?
So bringing it back on track.
I didn't mention what I was doing for Halloween, by the way.
Oh yes,
what are you doing,
Jeff? What are you doing?
I will probably go to West Hollywood. I think this will be talked about next week, especially after the fact. And hang out with the masses up there because they have a huge Halloween event. Costume, I'm not positive yet, but it may be something, I dust off from Celebration, like Rick Solo and Chew Morty may make an appearance up there. You never know if
that was a very cool
Mickey
costume.
Vader will make an appearance up there. It's more likely, though, than not that Sith Show Bob would be the one that makes the appearance up there. But because I've been considering scaling down some of the cosplays I do a little bit lately, and costumes can be a pain in the butt, and if I can do something that I can throw on and then get out of quickly, I'm very happy about that.
Oh, absolutely.
We shall see.
Sorry.
I'm so excited about Halloween, and it's kind of crazy that it's a week away, and then Rhode Island is right after. Of course, tonight we do have to get to Ahsoka, and we will. We have a top 10 list for everyone, and I almost wish we had all made top 10 lists and we had to throw down over it. But Ashley and I coordinated on a top 10 and agreed upon these. And so as we go through, we'll see if the boys agree. Spencer, Dave, and Jeff are Star Wars experts. They know all aspects of the saga, including Rebels. So I will let them weigh in as to whether they think this is the right ranking. Before we jump into that real quick, I just want to point out a couple of the names coming to Rhode Island Comic Con for anyone who's in the Cantina family who maybe is on the fence about going. Ahmed Best is going to be there. Bonnie Piess is going to be there.
By the way, Ahmed is the reason why Dave is driving 16 hours to Rhode Island.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah. I know you love your Jar Jar. I get it. There are characters that I would traverse the world for. Mine is Catherine Tate. And we just saw with the Doctor Who thing, she is coming back. We know it. It's confirmed. We saw the trailer. It's awesome. Amy Allen's going to be there. Misty Rosas, Carrie Jones. Who else from Star Wars? Daniel Logan's going to be there. There's going to be a really strong Emily Swallow, really strong list of all Star Wars people. Never mind
Grant, Lil Luke from Obi-Wan.
Oh, that's exciting.
His first con.
That's very cool. Everyone be nice to the children, by the way.
Rupert,
I can't imagine
friend.
Katie O'Brien.
Yep.
Who else? Kyle Patrick. Pasek. Keone Young, who's actually on my list of must get added to my big Rebels poster. Lauren Marie Kim is coming back. It's quite the list of people, and that's not even everyone. Oh, Type Fletcher. Yep. So that if that's not enough, I don't know who else we could add to that list to convince you. But come on down and then meet us at the Dave and Buster's on Friday night. I know I'm very excited about that.
Sounds like it'll be a great hang.
Yeah,
It's
and like I said,
fantastic.
I'll be doing photo ops and autographs for everyone.
As well, the first 500 with a bracelet.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're gonna set up. You need a bracelet for the meet and greet. All right, boys. Let's jump into this top 10. You guys do have the Google Doc, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we have this amazing Google Doc for the show. So for everyone who's like tuning in and seeing how the sausage is made, we do plan out a lot of our content and then we react to whatever's happening in the pop culture. But on a list like this, we have this shared document. We're able to go in and make edits. And Ashley and I we'll just move stuff around and make little tweaks. And then before you know it, the top 10 list takes up 3 pages because we put all of our notes in there to make sure we don't miss anything. And then inevitably we skip over it. So I'm assuming we'll go right into that this time. But Ahsoka, as a reminder, appeared in Rebels in about a dozen episodes. It's really not even all that many. So it was easy enough to craft what are the big moments. It was then just organizing them in the right order. What do we think top to bottom is the starting point? So I'm going to start with number 10. And I think right off the bat, it's going to be controversial. I have as her 10th best moment, the appearance in the series finale, the final moment of her just standing there, no lines, in her white cloak as Sabine turns around after talking to the mural, after doing the narration to the audience about everything that happens after the show ends, post Battle of Endor, and now they're going to go find Ezra, and it sets up whatever the next adventure will be. Ahsoka has nothing to do with that. If she wasn't there, it wouldn't even matter. Sabina's off to do her thing, but she's going to meet Ahsoka. But I think this is one of those moments that just caught everyone really off guard, and everyone's like, oh, wow, she's back again, and going to be an important part of the next thing.
So it's controversial for a number of reasons, because you see an older, wiser, as well, white cloaked fulcrum Ahsoka showing up.
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly where in the timeline it is per se, as far as, because Sabine's telling this in the epilogue when it is. What is the game changer is chapter 13, The Jedi in Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
When Ahsoka shows up to fight the magistrate.
Yeah.
And it says, where is your master? Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?
Yeah.
One thing that Filoni and Favreau did say is that things could jump around during the show of where the timeline is. Now, 2 things that come to my mind first and foremost. First and foremost is the fact that, one, is that I think that that episode 13 is before the epilogue. And we can talk about this at another time. I think she's finding out where they are and then going to get Sabine. And 2, one of the first live action shot you see of Sabine is in front of the mural.
Yes. Which that's new news. So when Rebels came out, we didn't know either of these things, but it recontextualizes, which is the point of our whole show.
Saying,
yeah.
Yes.
So
that's my thing.
So you want it higher?
Absolutely.
I thought it was huge in that point, because in your mind as a fan,
Sarah agrees too.
I want more.
Sarah thinks it should be higher.
Away with having it this low in the context of Rebels itself, but now that we know she's in Mandalorian, she's searching for Thrawn. Now that we know there's going to be a new Ahsoka show based on so much of that stuff, I don't think you can get away with keeping it that low anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. Jeff, do you hate me too? Tell me.
It's sort of relative. We have a short list, 10 things, and having it where it is, I don't think is a huge issue, but it is a pretty it's a moment, so it definitely stands out, especially being, like you said, with her having no lines and things like that.
Yeah.
It kind of makes it a little stronger, I think.
But keep this in mind as well, is that going back to Clone Wars, just throwing this out there, Ahsoka is probably one of the most hated canoe characters in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the point where Ashley was like saying to them, and in many interviews said, "Why are you having me do this?" And Dave's like, "Trust me, play the long game."
Mm-hmm.
And look where Ahsoka is now.
Fan favorite, got her own show. She's also sort of the secret sauce when other things are not going. Like adding her to Rebels gave a lot of like credibility to Rebels. Bringing her into Mandalorian was a huge move in the Mandalorian. They're like, oh wow, and then she's getting her own show.
She
Like,
becomes the interconnectedness
Yeah.
of new Star Wars.
yep.
Yeah.
You know, and in that vein, I mean, prequel Anakin was hated, like most universally, and is now Hayden
Multiple
is
times.
the golden boy of that. And
Mhm.
he's the connectedness. Anakin is the connectedness of, you know, the prequels and the OT. So, it's gonna be what's
Yeah.
gonna be.
There's definitely a lot of weight behind this. The reason I put it at the bottom, we'll say the bottom of my list, it is the top 10, but right, number 10 is because she doesn't say anything or do anything. So it's
Right.
more of a series moment of like what's to come. But yeah, what a way to close out Rebels, right? What a final shot to like 4 years in the making, this incredible crew. Everyone's off sort of doing their own thing now. Sabine is telling the audience that we've made it through the original trilogy by the time the epilogue ends, and then the next chapter we're passing the baton. We're taking Sabine and Ahsoka off to like the next time period, which now we know is like the age of the New Republic, I think is what they're calling it. The Mando first time period, essentially. I never thought of this, Spencer, though, about like how that scene with the magistrate could be before the Sabine thing, because in my mind it was like immediately after Endor, but you're right that it could be years later, and potentially like live action Ahsoka in Mando could be before. They never gave us a timestamp for that moment.
Exactly.
So
and
I
the thing is,
thought of
it can jump anywhere, but the thing is that it proves that the Padawan is becoming the master.
Yeah.
And I said this many a time on all of our shows. It's a Filoniverse, and we just live in it now.
Filoniverse. It really is. Well, I'm glad you guys brought up.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I trust in Filoni.
Very a nice place to live, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Well, and Filoni has a lot to do with this list. You think some of the stuff on here is so like the flavor
it's
of
golden
Filoni.
His golden child is Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's almost hard to separate the interconnectivity of the two. Some things are very Star Warsy, and then other things it's like this is the Filoni special sauce. Like we'll get to World Between Worlds and stuff like that.
Yes.
I'm glad you guys mentioned Anakin, because Anakin comes in at our next number when we go to number 9. There's a moment in Shroud of Darkness, and I actually have 2 moments from this episode because it's a really important episode in Star Wars in season 2, where Ahsoka is watching the holocron recording of Anakin demonstrate some lightsaber training, and he's giving some of his like very specific advice. And what's interesting is we don't always think of Anakin as like a disciplined teacher. Like he's not like Obi-Wan where he like holds class. Like you never see him in a classroom setting really. Like he's usually in the field, but here he's doing something like very formal, and he's like at a presentation stage kind of thing. And Ahsoka's just watching it and like waxing poetic about what an amazing master, teacher Anakin was, as she's like, as we're inching toward the finale that will eventually get her to the Ahsoka versus Vader fight. And I thought they gave us a lot of character insight as to who she really has as her North Star for the way that now she's not part of the Order. What does she value, and what does she, what does she use to decide right and wrong? And Anakin seems to be like still that pinnacle of like all things right. It's kind of heartbreaking, actually.
I would say that's probably a decent spot for it. I mean, obviously we're going to talk about, War Between Worlds, and honestly, I think, later on, what I think is probably one of the best lines in Star Wars, the new Star Wars overall. It's most quotable at this particular time. But spoiler alert. But I think that I would probably keep this, this one low on, because I think Ahsoka had such a following, and had, like I said, is the glue. She is the glue of Star Wars, and she's also the keeper at this point. Because if you think about this, is that Ahsoka was there in the prequels whether
she was in the temple. Yeah, she's the only Jedi that we know at this point because Kanan left, right? He was a Padawan, and barely got trained. She was very close. Like she was on the cusp of becoming a Jedi Master, it seemed, until she decided to leave, even though she was pretty young. Like she's older than Kanan, but not by much. But it seems like she's years ahead of him in terms of like wisdom and experience, right?
Yeah, but she also she has more experience than Luke, which we established in Fett.
Yes.
But did you really leave the Order, or did your girl Barasafi have a little bit something to do with that?
Yeah, I'd love to do this exact same list for Clone Wars because I think that episode is possibly I go back and forth on this a lot. I think the way that story played out is some of the best storytelling in all of Star Wars. And if I were going to pick like my favorite series is Rebels, and all my favorite moments mostly come from Rebels, but those episodes, and especially the trial and when she leaves and the revelation of Barriss being the villain, like I would put that up against any of this as well. Like, I think it's such a great story arc. Yeah, it's good stuff.
So Sarah says that the holocron sequence was brutal. Reminder of the Brotherhood novel. Very much a heart punch.
Yeah, that's the thing. This has emotional weight to it because she's really, we all know, like we know Vader is Anakin. She still doesn't really know yet at this moment. She's close. Right. Like there's a moment where like she realizes that it could be true, but even up until the moment where she confronts him in Twilight of the Apprentice, there's doubt. Like, could it really be him? And it's not until she like physically gets there and he confirms it, and then when she slices the mask, it's like it's over, right? Like, yeah, it's like, oh wow, there's no fooling. There wasn't a clone involved or some such nonsense.
Well, yeah, and I mean that moment is really, I think they cheapened that moment in the Obi-Wan show because they took that fight that should have been hers and stole it and made it Obi-Wan's.
I agree.
Well, but there's an argument for both sides as well, because if you think about it like this, Ahsoka cut the left side. Obi-Wan cut the right side. The only person who got the whole thing off was Luke.
Yeah, it's poetry. It's stupid.
It's poetry, right?
Yeah,
it was accidental.
yeah. Well, I think that there are definitely I think people within Disney that recognize that not everyone watches the animation, and so if it didn't happen in live action, it didn't happen, which is unfortunate. But like, you see some of these stolen moments, and it's like, damn it, like Rebels did it better. But we need to repeat it. So I think honestly, I think that's why they're putting
normals can get it.
The more general audience market. I actually think that's why they're giving us the Sabine mural scene, which by the way, I loved. I don't mind them recreating that because I think it's a jumping off point. I don't think it'll cheapen the finale of Rebels. And it didn't. From when I saw it, I got emotional. I was like, I need to pose in front of this thing. They better bring it to Celebration. I want to get all my friends. We're all going to cry. It's going to be great. Whereas, like, you can imagine, like, the scene in Obi-Wan actually did make me angry. And I didn't really talk about that during those first couple of weeks because I was like, this really is cheap. But,
especially that left weak slash that he did. So that bothered me more than anything else.
Yeah. But before we move, I want to say that I like this scene, and it's probably in about the right place, but I like this scene because it harkens back to the Anakin and Ahsoka scene where he just tells her, you never would have made it as Obi-Wan's Padawan, but you just might make it as mine.
Yes. Oh my God. But Anakin is such an unlikely teacher, kind of like Kanan. Like they have very different styles than what they, the temple tells you how to behave as a teacher. And I think a lot of those, a lot of the problems with the temple is that they force them into this very dogmatic, very by the book kind of style, and Anakin didn't behave that way, and Ahsoka learned from that. It's actually why Barriss Offee was even still alive. Like Ahsoka saved Barriss Offee on that mission that went awry. Luminara was just going to let them both die. And so it also goes back to that. I was like, remember how she was like frozen and it was like the worst thing that ever happened in the prison? And I was like, well, she was going to let Ahsoka and Barriss Offee die. So there are those moments where it's like, well, she kind of got what she deserved.
So this is probably going off for a tangent a little bit, but let's throw this out.
You've seen our show. Yeah.
Do you think that Anakin was more the student of Qui-Gon Jinn as opposed to Obi-Wan Kenobi?
He didn't get any
styling.
So from a functional perspective, he barely knew Qui-Gon. But Obi-Wan, I think just because he was all like Anakin was Anakin, and Anakin was going to be Anakin, whether he was trained by Luminara or Obi-Wan or Yoda. And he was just kind of too old, which is hilarious to say considering he was like 10 instead of like 2, because they can't indoctrinate you that easier, right? But like he's just, I mean, he was a red flag from when we met him, and they make fun of that in the Lego special with the like, get your red flags, like that joke is just, like too perfect. So I don't think anyone could have fixed that. Anakin is like built that way, just flowing with anger and passion and a lot of dark side, and I don't think anyone could have contained that.
Well, and if you want to go further down the rabbit hole on this, look back on our YouTube channel and the Unifying Force playlist and look for the episode, What If Qui-Gon Had Lived?
I'm trying to remember what your main thought was, but I feel like Anakin, like Qui-Gon would have stopped Anakin. Like Qui-Gon would have killed Anakin. Someone said that, right? Did I imagine that?
I mean, we were all over the place on would it have made it better? Would it have made it worse? Would Qui-Gon have, gone down a road because he was already essentially a gray Jedi? He wasn't particularly light side like Obi-Wan. But, I think they both would have gone grayer.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot of that.
And also in gallery, Dave did say that the Duel of Fates really was the fate of Anakin. Because it was not, because if Qui-Gon won, it would have been a completely different scenario, but he got killed by a dark side.
Oh, interesting. I could do this conversation. Like we could do another. We could do another.
Thank you for inviting us.
This is what I love though, because like I feel like Star Wars is a constant like world between worlds, where you poke at something and it opens up all these other questions. It's the reason we have this show, right? Like I always tell people, this show is over. It went for 4 seasons. It actually aired over, like it was done over 4 years ago. What is there to talk about? There are a million things to talk about. It like constantly influences the current stream of content. We go back and reevaluate Rebels. We look at Clone Wars in a different way. The reason we're doing this show is Tales of the Jedi. It comes out in 2 days. We're getting new content from the time period that we were just talking about. And actually beforehand, we're going to see Dooku as like someone who's like young and hot. What's that about? I don't know.
It gives me a lot of Kylo vibes personally.
But what's really awesome is you got Liam coming back as old Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
But you got his son, Michael Richardson, playing the
That's very cool. We've got a great voice cast. Matt Lanter's coming back. James Earl Taylor's coming back. Ashley Eckstein. Janina Gavankar is playing Ashley Eckstein's mother in the show. The Ahsoka's mother in the show, which Janina's great, from Battlefront.
Phil Lamar
is coming back as Bail Organa. They don't know. I don't know if Master Yoda has lines. They didn't give us a credit with Tom or Frank Oz. And we know Tom's situation. I think he's retired because of the voice injury he's had. But I don't know if they'll maybe reuse old dialogue, or maybe Yoda just doesn't talk, or if there's a new person coming in. I'm not aware.
And the Mace Windu from the animated series.
Oh, T.C. Carson.
Yeah, he's back.
He's terrific too.
Though that they're not above AIing voice actors at this point.
They would have enough of Tom to do it, and I'm sure that he would go for it because he loves this character and he loves his fandom.
Ian.
Yeah. Ian McDermott. That's right. Where's Sam, by the way? I'm sure Sam Witwer's around somewhere. But either way, like, how cool is it?
Well, Sam was in this week's episode of Andor. So,
are you a part of it?
Yeah,
it's going to be the new thing. He has to sign that everywhere now. You know it. Every fanboy is going to be like, "Are you a part of it?" That's going to be the new On Your Left. Like, we're going to hear that shit for months. It's going to go on.
But that's a Star Wars, Dave. That's the new shirt.
Are you a part of it?
Are you a part of it?
There's one already up on TeePublic from 45 other vendors, but we need one.
Virtual Cantina. Are you part of it?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. All right.
There we go.
Sorry, everyone in the comments. We're going to merge this.
Got a brainstorm product for a little while.
Yeah, we're basically having a staff meeting with the host. So everyone else
is what we do, though.
Yeah, you're all invited to attend. All right, I'm gonna jump back into the list, but I like these tangents, and I think the fans do too. Like I know that like we never stay fully on topic, even when we're doing a watch along, full action scenes, and people will die on screen, and we'll be on like some like messed up story about a convention. Yeah.
So I want to plug right now, since we're on this topic, is that next week on our happy hour, which is Tuesday nights, we're going to start our watch along of Tales of the Jedi. Now we're going to do it on the Tuesday nights, and then have with all of us on screen. Everybody who's there on Tuesday, watch at the same time, and then have a talk about, which is what we usually do with the cartoons. So next week we're going to watch all 3 Ahsoka episodes. And then following week, we're going to watch all the Dooku episodes because they're all dropping this week at the same time.
Tuesday, November 1st and Tuesday,
8th.
November 8th. Okay.
Yeah. So 8th, we're doing, so the 1st, we're doing Ahsoka. So please join us for that. You know, like I said, we love to have you guys on here. And, you know, I just had to plug that since we're.
Yeah. I'm going to try to, I never make it to the Tuesday happy hours.
Do this.
Yeah.
You be the snarky on camera.
That's right.
The difference is we won't be streaming it all. It'll just be us on Zoom BSing with each other and all watching the same show at the same time.
That'll be really fun. I'm gonna have to really try to make that one.
We would love to have you.
Well, thank you, Sherry. I'm glad you love the tangents. The tangents are like 80% of this pie. So, all right, I'm gonna jump back.
We bring the ADD.
Yeah, I love it though because, like I said, the Star Wars, it's the world between worlds. You just like pick your path. Which that brings me to the next thing on here. My number 8 moment for Ahsoka is actually in the world between worlds where Ezra saves her. At this point, season 4, you're thinking it needs to go higher. So my thought is that it's not as much an Ahsoka moment as it is an Ezra moment. Like that was really like, did she? I know. It was semantics, but you know, Ahsoka lives again was the hashtag joke that happened after that because like we thought she had been killed at the end of season 2. Ezra grabs her out of the mirror, and then she returns to that same space. So they don't break the continuity of the plot. She still like walks out of Malachor the same way we sort of saw at the end of that episode. Obviously, Darth Vader is very confused, but like she also helps Ezra like fend off the Emperor who's trying to get into the world between worlds with his little magic hand and that like scary magic. And she gets to talk to Ezra and teach him a lesson, like not to pull Kanan out, you know, and mess up that whole thing. So I thought it was well done. I actually liked, even though it was time travel, air quotes, like it didn't break everything, which time travel usually does in any type of fandom.
So 2 things out of that I got. First and foremost, time travel was the only thing that Star Wars never touched up until that point. And at that point, when you're hearing Rey in the void, you're hearing Obi-Wan, you're hearing old Yoda, you know, my mind was exploding. So that was interesting that they went to that barrier. But second of all, the biggest Easter egg troll actually came from Dave Filoni at the 2017 celebration. I was actually at this Rebels panel, and when he was with the full cast, he came on with a t-shirt that said Ahsoka lives ? And then they showed the first episode of season 4, and the question mark would change to an exclamation point. And unless you were unless you noticed that, he was trolling everybody in that room at that time. So that was one of the things that who knew that Ahsoka was going to live. I mean, that when you saw the wall come down, you know, we'll talk about this maybe later on in this episode, you thought, you know, Vader didn't care. Vader was going to kill, you know.
We thought it was the end because everyone thinks all prequel characters have to be dead if we didn't see them in the original trilogy or somewhere else, like as if the galaxy isn't gigantic. So there's a little bit of that. Like, did she have to die? No. Also, Filoni's not going to kill her. There's another troll that he did too. So when he showed a picture of Ahsoka, like he did this art piece of her like going through, it seemed like going into the underworld right after being killed or whatever, but it's all framed in the wolves, and then the wolves end up being the frame of the entrance to the world between worlds on Lothal. He did that before that all that stuff had aired, and we put it into a Topps product. So we had that artwork insert in Topps Galaxy or something as like a, you know, because it was Filoni artwork, and then it ended up being like, you know, the entrance to World Between Worlds. So he was playing us like years before, it seemed like after season 2 at that end, he had the wolves in the frame. So, and then all of a sudden the wolves were like incredibly important, you know, for this, as all wolves are with Dave. So
well, his name in the Mandoverse.
Yeah.
Higher, because in that scene, she coins the term world between worlds, does she not?
She does. I think it's her.
I mean, that's the first time we hear that. That logo, that world between worlds symbol, is the symbol for the Ahsoka show. It's going to become important again. It's another one of those things where you might have gotten away with having it this low before. Probably not anymore.
Yeah. I'm noticing now that, like, because I have very active things coming up, and I think they're gonna start coming. You're gonna want to push some of these down. All right. So like the next one. All right. We're big Clone Wars fans. Number 7 on my list. Ahsoka reunites with Rex in the season 2. I guess it's the 4th episode, Relics of the Old Republic. We meet Rex and the rest of the clones. They have that big skirmish on the planet of Selos. The rest of the Ghost crew is there. Ahsoka's not there with them, but then they all come back and join the rest of the Ghost. And we see Ahsoka and Rex have a hug. And Ahsoka says something like, "You've gotten old," or he says, "You've gotten old," and she's like, "Oh, it had to happen at some point." It's very sweet, and it brings them back together after all this time. And we didn't know if Rex was alive. So I thought this was like a genuinely heartwarming moment. But I'm feeling on this group, this is going to need to go lower as other things move up.
So did this happen? This episode of Rebels happened before season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All of Rebels happened before the final.
So that's
season
what I'm saying.
Wars.
The Ahsoka Rex dynamic, I don't think would have been as powerful in the moment before having seen, the ending of 7.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I do think that Rex and Ahsoka are the backbone of like the Clone Wars. And some people say it's Anakin and Ahsoka, or Ahsoka and Rex, or Anakin and Obi-Wan. Like those are really sort of the 4 leads of the show. But there's definitely a lot more weight that gets added to their relationship in the final season, where Rex and Ahsoka go through it, right? That Order 66 scene in the Siege of Mandalore and the 4-part finale is like unbelievable. It's still some of the best.
You're about to say exactly what I was about to say. That 4-part finale is some of the best Star Wars period.
Star Wars period. Absolutely.
Yeah, they really killed it with that.
I still wish we could get it in theaters. Just for a limited run.
I put Rebels on a huge pedestal, and I always will. However, that 4-part thing,
can you put
it makes me question my love for Rebels.
Does the 4 parts, and you can love both, but if you do have to rank, does the 4-part finale of Clone Wars beat out the 3-part finale of Rebels? I think it does, frankly. And you know me, I'm the biggest Rebels proponent. Like, it's my favorite part of the whole saga.
I think it beats out the series.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I think it's so good, and it gives so much payoff, and we were waiting for so long, and it's so beautifully done. The acting's terrific. We also kind of know everything that's going to happen, and yet it still landed. Like, with Rebels, we didn't know what was going to happen. And I think they did stick the landing with Rebels, despite like the weird Purgles thing, which I think some people are still turned off by. I loved it. I was like, of course it ended with like weird animals. Like, that's how Rebels is. Like, there's always some fucked up animal that just like saves the day.
Weird animals. Like, it starts with a moth.
So can we give massive props that not only did we get the Ahsoka Maul battle that we wish we got sooner in Rebels. With the whole thing about the apprentice. However, props to Lauren Mary Kim and Ray Park for the mocap that they did to make that so realistic. It was incredible. Yeah,
it was super well done. I talked to Lauren Mary Kim at Rhode Island Comic Con last year about that, and she said it was fantastic. So, and I saw some of the behind the scenes on that. It was very cool.
I got a print signed by the voice actors and Lauren and Ray.
Oh, so you got all 4 of them on one thing?
I now have them awesome. All. I now have all 4 of them.
Share that picture in our group, like if you haven't already, because I think that's the kind of stuff that I love to see more of in the group as a collector myself. Like, I've got my piece that I'm working on. I'm going to add Keone. And I was looking again at the people coming to Rhode Island Comic Con, and there was one of the Rebels guests who was like kind of I was on the fence about it. I was like, should I put him on the poster? And I was like, well, like if there's enough room, you know how that goes, right? Right. But I think people like to see that stuff,
I'll send you the that picture, and I also have one signed and quoted by Stephen Stanton and Sam Witwer.
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. That's both excellent guys.
Yes. Anyway, I digress. Rabbit hole.
Well, that's what we do. All right, so number 6 on here, I have coming back to Shroud of Darkness, which I referenced earlier. Going into the Jedi Temple, Ahsoka is confronted with the vision of Anakin, and she has to deal with Anakin like berating her for leaving him, and this vision calls her selfish. The whole episode's super important because it sets up the plan to go to Malachor. She actually tells Ezra about Yoda. Because Ezra meets Master Yoda. He got his crystal last time, but didn't see him. He actually really meets and sees Yoda in this episode, and Kanan gets knighted as a Jedi Knight. So you can feel like things really escalating in this episode. And Ahsoka goes into the temple with the two of them, and she talks about like how the Clone Wars just made Yoda very sad, and she remembers that from her time there. But more importantly, she gets the mission to go to Malachor after confronting Anakin, which is then something she's going to have to do in real life on Malachor. So I thought this was like also poetry, it rhymes, whatever, but like done really well.
This makes me sad.
Yeah.
No, keep going. And it's sad for Ahsoka.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Kanan gets knighted as a Jedi Knight, and even though
she never wanted it.
Yeah, but she deserved it.
Sure,
and that doesn't mean they shouldn't have offered.
I think that's fair. His arc though depended on it, right? He was very much like, how do I take down an Inquisitor? And it's the Inquisitor who knights him. The Inquisitor who he killed turned out to be the Jedi Temple Guard, who then makes him a knight. And he needed that for his like character arc. I think Ahsoka not being a Jedi needed that because her big moment is like, I am no Jedi, right? That's the kind of thing. But I feel that, right? Where it's like, how does he have higher ranking now than her? And I don't know if you would ever really think that he's higher ranked than her or whatever, but I think they all kind of got what they needed out of that. Like Ahsoka's like, oh, you're gonna have to confront Anakin, and Ezra got to meet Yoda, and Jedi's a knight, and by the way, the Inquisitors are on your ass, and it's like, we got to get out of here before the place explodes. Like this place is a death trap.
What if they did a twist on it? I know I love to do what ifs, but Ahsoka becomes a master and Anakin doesn't.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Here's the thing: like Anakin was going to go dark regardless. Like her leaving or her surpassing him provides you the same thing. I don't think it gets you to a different place. You have a slightly different way of getting to the same end goal. Like Palpatine's still going to use him, and kill everyone else. Maybe Ahsoka dies in Order 66 at that point because like she's not on the ship with Maul and she's not with Rex. Like she's not on the mission to Mandalore. Which we always forget in that Siege of Mandalore. Like Mandalore is the goal, and we're setting up all this Mandalore stuff too. Like there's so much going on there. It's basically its own Coruscant. There's such a stream of content. It's its own Coruscant or Tatooine. There's just so much happening on Mandalore. All right, this one was a sad one. I agree. All right, now we're getting into like the heavy hitter stuff. We're in our top 5, guys. I think there'll be less controversy around things in the top 5. My number 5 on here is within Twilight of the Apprentice. I actually broke out several moments. Ahsoka teaming up with Kanan and Ezra, who she's already been teaming up with, and Maul to fight 3 different Inquisitors, the 5th brother, the 7th sister, and the 8th brother. And in that fight, and at one point, all of them have their lightsabers out and they are all fighting at each other. It's kind of amazing. But in the melee, Ahsoka defeats the 5th brother. She breaks his lightsaber, and then Maul kills him. So she gets the assist in the kill. We actually talked about this in an episode of Rebels Revisited earlier in the year when we were doing our Inquisitor watch along. But I think that moment of the team up and the fighting the 5th brother is fantastic, and I love her teaming up with Maul. I think it's fantastic.
I think it sets up also the fact that, which we're going to talk about later on as well, when Maul requests Ahsoka help him take down Anakin.
Yeah.
And, it was her love for Anakin that did. So I think that, set that up right there, but it also showed a lot as well of later on. We learned more about 5th brother, especially after watching the Obi-Wan series, how, power hungry he was, to see everything that happened. I think that Ahsoka, being I want to use a wrestling term, the tweener of the two, kind of, didn't take a side per se, but it was taking, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, we got to take these people down no matter what. Plus also you saw them utilizing those sabers as helicopters, which is kind of like freaking ridiculous.
I know. It is. Sarah's right. It's the weirdest compilation ever.
And the stupidest thing ever at the same time.
Amazing. Isn't that Star Wars, though? It's the stupidest thing and also the greatest thing. It's the ice cream maker. It's everyone running around dressed like ice cream dude from Empire Strikes Back.
Lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
the Swiss Army saber.
Yeah. I love that whole moment. I love the character you get from that. And especially, I know it's production order. There's chronological order and production order, right? In chronological order, we get this first, and then we get Clone Wars Season 7 with the finale and Maul and Ahsoka having their little discussion, right? Will she believe him and help him stop Anakin, whatever? She doesn't believe him at all. In production order, that's what happens. In chronological order, that happened first. So now this time around, as he is like not lying to her, but manipulating her, but he's right that like they need to stop these Inquisitors and need to team up. She's like, yeah, we're going to team up. Because you know what? It didn't work out last time. The whole galaxy fell apart because she didn't team up with Maul, which is crazy. So I was like, imagine if Ahsoka and Maul actually teamed up. That's a what if I would watch. And I'd want them to be bad guys. Like, I think that would be like stupid fun.
That's people.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah. All right, number 4. This one is from Siege of Lothal. This is the moment where they discover that Darth Vader, is the Sith Lord that they are after. They're doing this moment on the ship where Ezra and Kanan and Ahsoka are all using their force powers together because they're going up against a pilot in an X-Wing that is just shooting out their entire squad. And Ahsoka is able to mentally connect with Vader, and he knows it's her. He says, "Oh, the apprentice lives." And so it turns out that Vader is able to know that this is Ahsoka Tano. She is alive. She's right there. I've been looking for her. Inquisitors have been looking for her. She thinks it might be Anakin, or at the very least, it is definitely a Sith Lord that is after her. And she like screams and passes out. It's actually like quite horrifying. And the animation is super wonky. Her eyes go crazy and she like literally falls over. I love that moment. And even after that moment, though, she won't believe it's Anakin. That's the craziest part. Is like she fully gets confirmation in his brain, and she's like, "No, it couldn't be him."
Well, what if his inner voice said "Snips"? Would that have done it? I mean,
yeah. What would it take? I mean, it is a new voice, right? Like whatever it's James Earl Jones instead of Matt Lanter. So right off the bat, like it's a different voice. But he knew who she was. So even if she didn't really believe it was Anakin, some big scary evil dude knows who she is and is coming for her. Like that's a moment right there.
That's enough, right?
Yeah. I was scared by that moment. Did you guys enjoy that moment when it happened? I know I like screamed at the TV.
No, I enjoyed it. I wanted to, obviously we're gonna get to more conversations about what's coming up. But it was definitely, I thought it was it wets your whistle for what ends up happening later on.
It's a setup. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Well, here's our top 3. Or my top 3 and Ashley's top 3. I'm gonna blame her. I'm gonna be like, then we'll rejigger the list. So this one is from Future of the Force, and I tried to make the top 3 from 3 different episodes. So from Future of the Force, which is a really important episode of season 2, we watched it on the watch along a little while ago. The 5th brother and the 7th sister basically pin down Ezra and Kanan, and Ahsoka has to save the day. She makes this triumphant entrance, and she like pulls out her double-bladed white lightsabers and beats the heck out of them. She takes them down super easily. She uses the Force to disable the lightsaber of the 7th sister, and like fully wins that battle and lets Ezra and Kanan escape without even breaking a sweat, and gives them like a little talking to as well. So she really is like that bitch. Like she comes in and just like really clear, like in wrestling, right? You know how the music hits and they clear the ring and they're standing there and everyone's chanting. It was that moment for sure.
Right.
I think I would separate out a moment from this fight to be another one of the top moments. And my top moment is when the 7th sister's lightsaber comes down and she just like kung fu the legend, continues it and just
and then disables it. That's what's so crazy. She grabs it and then
Yeah.
dissipates it. She does something similar in the novel, and this is something that I really want to see on screen. And based on the pictures from Tales of the Jedi, there's an Inquisitor who is not numbered or named, and I was like, that Darth Revan looking guy could be the fifth brother, or not the fifth brother, the sixth brother, who Ahsoka kills in the Ahsoka novel. And she uses a trick where she doesn't even have lightsabers, but he has her lightsabers, and she uses the Force to grab the lightsaber when he like lunges at her and like fully explodes them onto him or something. It's crazy. I'd have to look at the text again and see exactly how that works, but like her Force powers are like off the chart in that moment. So it's possible we could get that in Tales of the Jedi, like an animated interpretation of that piece from the novel. Like that would be super cool to see. She seems to have incredible control.
Yeah, it's gonna be, that's going to be that whole new kind of uncharted territory thing where they could expand on anything or create new moments. But
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I want to see, like I said, I want every Jedi to have like 10 episodes. So I need like a Plo Koon, and give us Master Yaddle. We're gonna see her for a hot minute in this. Like, give her a whole series.
If
I know
Dave has his way, Plo Koon is going to have one.
Yeah.
Dave loves Plo Koon.
He loves Plo Koon.
Yeah. Absolutely. He's the one who brought us Ahsoka.
What does that
He's the deliverer of Ahsoka. So if nothing else, and voiced by James Earl Taylor as well. So we love him for Obi-Wan, but also for that character. So I love that fight. I think, and you're right that moment with the, like, it just shows such control of her powers. She's so much like leaps and bounds beyond the Inquisitors. And it's almost comical how bad they are at fighting her and how good they were at taking down Ezra and Kanan. So imagine if Ahsoka wanted to take down Ezra and Kanan. Like, they wouldn't stand a chance. It would be embarrassing. Yeah. All right, so we are at our top 2 moments, and I feel like if you're any fan of Star Wars Rebels, there's like kind of 1 or 2 moments that really like rise between the top 2 on the whole list, and I don't think these are unexpected. I don't think they're controversial. I'm gonna go with our number 2. We decided was from the finale of season 1, Fire Across the Galaxy, where Ahsoka is revealed as Fulcrum. So it is the Ahsoka Lives moment. It's where the hashtag originated from. They've been talking about Fulcrum all season. Fulcrum is the one providing information to the Ghost, specifically to Hera, about their missions. And then after they're rescued, escaping Mustafar, the hologram turns off, and Ahsoka says the protocol has changed, and she comes climbing down these stairs and introduces herself to the rest of the crew as Ahsoka Tano. And the audience knows who she is, but these people seem to have no idea who she is. And she just is an associate of Bail Organa, is kind of all we got at that point. And it turns out she's been Fulcrum. She's been delivering the messages. And now she's basically going to be part of the crew for season 2. And I remember this moment because like we all lost our collective minds on Twitter. Like, and it spoiled it for the West Coast. Yeah.
that was incredible in that capacity. I mean, we've seen through the sequel trilogy and with Andor recently, other fulcrums or moles, if you want to call them, within the First Order or the Empire. But the one that no one expected, obviously, first and foremost, to still be alive, 1, and 2, being the one that everybody wanted, it was huge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was a moment. I was a licensee at the time, like a relatively new one. And I think I've told people this before, like I was doing like a trading card giveaway to celebrate the end of the finale of the season. I was like, I'm going to tweet along to Fire Across the Galaxy. And well, if you use this hashtag, I'll mail you some trading cards. I had no idea what that episode was going to be like because like Star Wars Twitter exploded that night. Like it was like nothing I had seen throughout the because no one really cared that much about the series when it was airing live on Friday nights on Disney XD. It was not a thing. Like, and yet that night after, especially once the hashtag hit, all of the more casual fans, or I shouldn't even say casual fans, all of the like hardcore Star Wars fans who maybe weren't interested in Rebels started paying attention because they were like, wow, Ahsoka's back. Like, and by the way, we did ruin it for the West Coast. Like, apologies to everyone in California. They saw that hashtag trending at like
3 hours early.
Yeah, at like 8:29 p.m. Eastern, right? So 5:29 p.m. like Pacific, like totally ruined their night. And they're like, can people refrain from the spoilers? Like, it's literally trending worldwide on Twitter. There's nothing you can do about that. But Ahsoka Lives became a thing, and it's become this like rallying cry for the character. And it's continued in numerous iterations, it seems. Yeah, so that I had to go back and forth. Like, is that the number one episode or the number one moment of Ahsoka? Like, because I feel like you can make the case that it's the greatest moment. It started like a phenomenon. They do an Ahsoka Lives photo at Celebration now, and big scale conventions.
Well, the thing is that Ashley did so she's doing these meditation things before the park opens on the East Coast at Galaxy's Edge. It's like a yoga thing that it's invite only or cast members. And her whole thing now, and she talked about this in Celebration 2022. Funny how I seem to know quite a bit about 2022 and not even been there. But she now starts to say Ahsoka lives in us all.
Oh, I love that.
Is that she felt that where she was not the live action Ahsoka, she knows that her voice and what she did really embodies Ahsoka, the heart and soul of that character. So she took it from Ahsoka lives to Ahsoka lives in us all.
I'm literally typing that out. That's why I'm out of frame for a second. There we go. That way it's in our show notes. Ahsoka lives in us all. We'll have to
get added live.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
It's Ahsoka, like we said several times. She is. It's like when we're going back and we're watching all these programs and everything that were going on, and we're saying, okay, where would Ahsoka have been if we're watching the prequels? It's just like when we're watching some of the the Jedi training on Coruscant. We joke, is like, where's the little green kid jumping up in the background trying to raise his hand? We're looking for Grogu. Now we're kind of like, we're looking for Ahsoka.
Yeah,
in everything. So
retconner in there.
Find a way. Believe me, there'll be a special edition where her ship is like flying by. In like episode 5, it'll be something. They'll be like, oh, she swung by Hoth.
Can we also say that as well as much of a Filoni poster child she was co-created by the creator himself.
Yeah, we knew that George had a lot to do with that. So she's just become property of Dave at this point.
Yeah.
He's doing a very good job keeping the legacy alive. He said something about this was probably on a Rebels Recon, which is where I get all my little tidbits from. They wanted to do a show that would honor what George had started and use the structure. He loved television and use the structure that he had wanted to do, like I guess like Clone Wars, but not do Clone Wars because that was George's. So I was like, well, what can be a spiritual successor to that show? And I feel like Dave has really always kept that as his North Star in everything that he's done. He's like, not like what would George do, like at every turn, but what did George really want for this series to be, this universe to be, and how does this fit into it? Like, he's more so than anyone else, I think.
Right. Definitely. Huge. Well, John has a little bit of that, but Dave is definitely the torch holder, as it were, at this point.
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm excited to see where he takes things, because we don't even have all the like reveals coming, right? Like, I was telling someone, no one knew anything about Skeleton Crew, and then all of a sudden there's a Skeleton Crew, right? Like, so out of nowhere, we don't know what content's coming, and we don't know what content they announced isn't coming. We don't know what the future Star Wars looks like. I don't know what it's going to look like 6 months from now.
Well, the thing is, a lot of things have been announced, and Disney today slapped Kathleen's hand and said, "No, stop talking." So,
what'd she say? I totally missed that.
They're tied. So it was announced that one of the director from Miss Marvel and a writer from Watchmen, some Watcher, are putting together a new film.
Oh, I heard about that.
And then today, Disney basically said, stop announcing things in production, because 50% of what you put on has not gone to fruition.
Yeah.
So stop. And this is on. I checked like a lot of sources before the show, because I saw actually Star Wars Theory was doing a show this an hour ago, a live show talking about Disney slapping her hand. And I was like, okay, I got to go back. And I typed Kathleen Kennedy today, and a Deadline talked about it. Like, so comicbook.com talked about it.
I think I saw
Disney
post.
Yeah, that Star Wars that Disney is saying you don't talk about production unless we're there's a reason to plug it because there's, the Patty Jenkins movie.
Yeah, there was a picture with like a bunch of announced stuff with like a third of it crossed out.
Yeah,
but
Lando,
the Lando show.
Makes me go back to what Mark just said with Skeleton Crew kind of coming out of nowhere. Could that have been something else that was in production that maybe kind of evolved into something that now we get announcement for?
Yeah, possibly. My feeling is like, don't announce it until you're mostly done. That's how I'm running my product development business. Right. When we're ready to put up a pre-order, it's because we've got like a factory.
Ashley,
look who it is! It's Ashley.
In.
Hi. How long have you been listening? I already blamed you twice for this list. So
she just joined according to my
well, welcome, and we are going to go past the hour because guess what? We
that's how we do.
That's how we roll here.
We go 10 over usually. And we only have one moment left. So let's hit the moment and then we'll do all the outro stuff. Number one moment from Star Wars Rebels.
All right, I got to have one honorable mention before you
Any honorable mentions before we
hit the number
mention?
One? Yeah. Anytime Ahsoka does the backwards grip on the lightsabers.
Yeah.
Anytime, every time, because you're just waiting for it, because that was her deal from all of Clone Wars from like minute one. And anytime
with
reverse grip, yes.
Yeah. Her lightsaber grip is so specific and iconic, and you see people trying to mimic it in the photos, and it looks crazy when you're just like, especially not holding anything.
Yeah, with the superhero stance element to it.
Yeah. The first time she pulls out those white blades in Future of the Force and like kicks the ass of those Inquisitors, it's amazing. It's like, it's so good. All right, any other honorable mentions before we hit our number one? Did you guys think anything was missing from this list? Keep in mind the number of episodes that Ahsoka is in is actually very small. I actually have I have so many like little lists like within our running show document over here. If you go all the way to the final page, here are all the episodes that Ahsoka's in, by the way. I'll tell everyone, like, if you want to do an Ahsoka watch, we will do like a proper Ahsoka watch along before the Ahsoka live action show happens. And I'm sure it'll be VCN wide. This is the Rebels list. She's in Fire Across the Galaxy, Siege of Lothal parts 1 and 2, The Lost Commanders, Relics of the Old Republic, Future of the Force, Shroud of Darkness, Mystery of Chopper Base, Twilight of the Apprentice 1 and 2, which of course is the big fight with Vader, A World Between Worlds, and then she's in like the last 10 seconds of the series finale, final moments of family reunion and farewell. So her appearances are slight in the grand scheme of things when you think that there are 80 episodes in this show. She's all over the Clone Wars, so there's a lot more content there, and of course she's getting her own show. So for us, it was actually like relatively easy to come up with like the 10 big moments. The real fight was like, where do things live on the list? But I think we can all agree on number one. Do any of you disagree with the number one moment?
Not at all.
I would, the only disagreement that I would have is I would separate that little part of it as its own moment and then the rest of it as another top 5.
Gotcha. I think that's perfectly fair, and we should talk about it that way, because our number one moment for everyone watching, drum roll, is I Am No Jedi from Twilight of the Apprentice, which I think a lot of you would probably have at the top of your list. And I think then the impending fight that happens, right? Yeah. So the dialogue, the long battle, the fight itself, the slicing off the mask, all of it has like its own little moments that are like super iconic within it. Matt Lanter's voice returning to be like a mix of Anakin with Vader. Like we actually got Matt to sign that photo for us at Star Wars Authentics, because once the mask came off, Disney was like, okay, it's him. He's doing the voice. I was like, yes, it's a sign. We put that on a card. But I Am No Jedi has become this like rallying cry. And when she said it, it's like, it's also so heartbreaking. It goes back to what we were saying earlier of her being kicked out of the order. She never became a Jedi. What's the full thing? It's like, I will avenge my master. Revenge is not the Jedi way.
Is not the Jedi way.
Yeah, and then I Am No Jedi. She got an answer for everything. Okay. Yeah,
she revenge.
So, couple of things with that in particular is it was heart wrenching enough when she sliced the helmet and you hear Matt Lanter go, Ahsoka, which I actually have a print with had him write Ahsoka ... on it for there because I had to go with actually. So one of the first times I met Mark by happenstance is New York Comic Con 2018 Mark brought Ashley to the Topps booth, and for the first 50 people who showed up at the booth, gave a free Ashley autograph.
Wow.
I was one of the 50, and I actually not only got an extra print from Mark, which you're very gracious about, but I asked for a quote, and I asked for "I am no Jedi," and she's like, and it was literally weeks after that episode. So
Yeah,
the first time I was able to see Ashley since then. So I was just like, I said, please put it on there, and I had to put it.
Not everyone gets their own birthday video.
That is very true.
But I'm a lot of favorites. But that's another story.
She's very good.
She signed it on my pop as well. But the thing is that it was basically her. She had said as well to Vader, "I left you last time. I'm not going to leave you again."
Yeah.
And now it's basically saying, "You're not Anakin."
Yeah. Yeah.
That the Obi-Wan, I will do what I must.
Everything Obi-Wan stole. The show stole this.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a whole video on that. I'm gonna be that angry Star Wars guy. They ruined Rebels. They ruined my 30s. So, all right. Does anyone in the comments disagree that like Twilight of the Apprentice, the fight with Vader, or particularly the I Am No Jedi is not the number one moment in all of? I mean, there's some great moments on here. There's some iconic moments on here. I think like Ahsoka Lives became part of the fandom. I Am No Jedi is part of the fandom. The white lightsabers in that reveal is like that's some badass stuff. Like,
but the thing is, we should going back to the Jedi in Mandalorian. The first time you actually see Rosario is. Wow! It's the two white lightsabers.
Yeah, it was immediate as to who this character was and is and where she's headed. I just love everything about Ahsoka, and I'm a huge fan of her Clone Wars stuff too. If you guys end up doing something like this for Clone Wars, happy to guest. Come on, and I'll be a small box on your show. So
you always get to be a big box.
Look, I'm gonna demand this box as part of my rider. I'll be like, my box must be 30% larger than all other boxes on screen.
Exactly.
The Heart Universe shirt. I Am No Jedi. Yeah.
And also, if you look at the reissue of the Legacy Blades, it has I Am No Jedi in Arabish stenciled on the outside.
That's
of the
nice.
box.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to see where this character goes. And by the way, before the Ahsoka show launches, which will be sometime in 2023, July, I don't know. I'm hearing various things, right?
Well, I think it's gonna be. I think the guess that I gave, I don't know, it was Tuesday or Thursday. Is one of the shows. Is that what would be incredible if they pulled an Obi-Wan and did the blue carpet in London?
They're not going to do that. They're not going to fly people to London. That's my only reason I think it won't line up with Celebration, unless they're already there. But like,
well, if they're doing Mando in February, I have a feeling Mando's probably going to link up directly close to Celebration.
Oh, they'll do the finale.
Yeah. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
So Ahsoka will probably be second.
Rosario will be there. Yeah. So then,
well, and the fact that she's starting to introduce and showing up at a con now in December. So they're starting to push this, and whether or not they pull a Book of Boba Fett in Mando season 3, which I hope to goodness they don't, but start really having the Ahsoka show take over season 3 of.
Oh, Mando. Right. Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
that was a weird play.
Who knows? But there's a lot of good. I mean, so. Yeah, I think I am Jedi. I mean, I'm No Jedi is it's the Ahsoka moment, other than appearing as the Fulcrum.
Yeah, in my list, I would have had I Am No Jedi as 1, the fight with Anakin Vader is 2.
Yep, and then would you have Fulcrum in like your 3 spot or?
And coming down the ladder probably would have been 3.
You get very granular. No, that's fair. Like we can make it a top 20 list. I will say as a group, I think we have some consensus that like the appearance at the series finale needs to move up on this list, and
top
the
5.
world between worlds needs to move up on the list.
I just love everything Vader related myself, but That's
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah. I think
saying it's the character, like you said, that is the glue of Star Wars now. It's like almost like
you
could trace the OT and a lot of stuff as R2D2 is the keeper of Star Wars, but the glue is Ahsoka.
Yeah, it was Vader Anakin as sort of one character, and now it's really become Ahsoka. She connects the Clone Wars to the Rebel Alliance era to now the Mandoverse era. I'm sure there'll be she's in episode 9 as a voice of one of the the Jedi. She doesn't really have a lot to do with the sequel trilogy, but like they can add that in other forms of media. That's a nice thing too. Star Wars is ever expanding. Again, the thesis of this show, Star Wars Rebels, is not like limited to the 80 episodes that it aired, right? It will continue to spread and grow and like have ties to other parts of the saga. And especially when the Ahsoka show hits, I think that's going to be, we're going to basically start the show over again. Because we'll obviously do like a Rebels related watch along for all things Ahsoka, but I think it's going to open up all these other conversations again as well. Like, what does it mean to be a Jedi? And what are the major teachings of being a Force wielder, and how do you defend the galaxy? Like there's all these really heavy questions that Andor is asking right now. I mean, people are willing to die for their cause in espionage and not really know like if they're going to make it out, and they're willing to do devious things. I still think that one woman killed all those people. The two women, like one of them had all the hostages. I think she killed all those people. So I keep going back and forth in my head. I was like, is that worth what we're going to gain? Someone has to make that decision, right? Are you willing to like execute these dozen people because they disagree? You disagree with your values? Like,
well, the thing with the Andor say in Rogue One, we've all done things that we're not proud of for the rebellion, and this is what we're doing. We're seeing that firsthand. Especially this last episode with them basically say to Vel, you gotta kill Andor. He's the branch that we need to go.
Yeah.
Loose lips sink ships. Yes.
Yeah. So, there's definitely, there's a lot of incredible Star Wars coming up, happening now.
Yeah. Happening now, coming soon.
Yeah. So here's a question for you that, Dave, Jeff, and I talked about the other night. If Andor was not a Star Wars property, would you have watched it?
It's a tough one because I'm not watching a lot of TV at the moment, but I don't know if I would have tuned in initially, but this show, this type of show, this kind of espionage, I would be into. Like if you were telling me it was like America versus Russia, I guess it doesn't really quite make sense. It's really more of like it's within your own government. So it'd be more like a rebellion trying to overthrow the American government. That's interesting. I like it. I like the sci-fi background gives you a lot of extra place to play though, like the idea of this galactic senate and space travel and like weird currency, even though it is like weirdly grounded. You get planets to jump to. Knowing the quality of the show,
government analogy though is taking over the U.S. government within the government
from within. Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of Designated Survivor in that. If
yes,
yeah. If you can set up to kill everyone, oh my God, if I say that out loud, like if you can kill everyone in Congress, I'm talking about the premise of the show in fiction. And there's a designated survivor and you planned who that was. So I say yes, but I also don't know if I would have initially tuned in because like, I'm just on all things genre. And although if this was in a different sci-fi universe, I would be equally compelled because it doesn't actually need to be Star Wars for this to be good. But I like what this is adding to Star Wars because it is very different than what we've seen, and yet it still makes perfect sense. And that's the tricky part of Star Wars. As you expand the universe, things don't always make sense. I remember the discourse around the Mortis father, daughter, and son, and how it didn't make sense and completely changes the thoughts on the Force and how it works and all this stuff. And I was like, but I love that. It's weird and crazy. Like that's what I want in my sci-fi. But then also like Andor is like stupid grounded, and it's like there's a curfew, and it's like that feels very grounded.
I mean, I like what you said is if it was based in another sci-fi property, it could work as well. Because think about this now. What would happen if the story that we're seeing of Andor is what happened as a young Malcolm Reynolds?
Oh yeah, Firefly.
I mean, isn't Firefly myself?
Yeah, Unification Day is the same, is exactly what they stole from Star Wars.
Battlestar. I mean, the
Yeah.
Katie Battlestar, not the original what we grew up on. But the thing is that I think we really start talking about the gritty adult Star Wars on the VCN, pre-VCN, 2.5 years ago, when we were saying that after Rogue One, we wanted a Dunkirk kind of gritty, in your face, and we even had a full show on what would be the first swear word in Star Wars. We talked about.
I don't think I listened to that episode, but I'll have to go back. Yeah,
but we talked about that, and we all thought, obviously it's good. If Samuel L. Jackson comes back. But
I didn't think they would ever say hell, because that's such like a religious word, and yet they drop what the hell in the equals, and I was like, that's an Earth word. Like I realized, you know what I mean? I was like, you can create like a different word for hell in any mythology. Like find something. So that made me crazy. That actually took me out of it.
We're getting the kiddie, we're getting the adult. And I think that, one day we're going to get a rated R Star Wars, which I'm completely okay with. Like they're about to do a rated R, MCU with Deadpool 3, which you have to, just by language alone.
Yeah, but it wouldn't work if it wasn't like sexual and violent, like Deadpool. Right. It just doesn't work. Yeah.
Right. No, but that's a comic book in itself. So, but the fact is that we are everything that they're going to cater to the adults, they're going to cater to the kids, and they're going to give everything to make every aspect of it work. And here's the best thing to say is that there's something for everybody, and you don't have to like every part of Star Wars, but at the end of the day, you can't discount it. As much as there's aspects of Star Wars that I wish they would, like, I don't know, Episode 9. I'm kind of like, this is what me as a fan has been waiting for years, for Star Wars to do something that was just like real life, not wrong lightsaber Jedi.
Yeah. You'll see zero lightsabers in this show.
The bureaucratic.
Oh, is there anything more real than them drinking their caffeine and working too late and printing up papers and getting ready to like give a presentation about how they're going to like subjugate the population?
Presentation.
Yeah, about how we're going to take away civil rights. Like that feels way too real. And
Cubicle
works.
City. We had Cubicle City.
My God.
They already talked about the TPS reports in Mandalorian. All they need to have is, damn, it feels good to be a gangster, and them beating one of the machines with like,
one of the printers.
A gonk droid, beating a gonk droid.
Yes. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
And we had Milton show up in Fett. So
So I have a prediction. I think that in that really crappy job where he's going to be sitting at his cube evaluating fuel, he's going to find something weird that's going to lead him to Deirdre and be like, fuel is being stolen, or fuel is being like, there's corruption. He's going to pull a thread and find his way into a deeper part of the Imperials, team up with Deirdre, the only Imperial I've ever rooted for because I love her. And they are going to chase down Cassian Andor. And I don't think it's going to end well for them, but I think that they are going to their ambition is going to get them into some really interesting places. I think that they're going to find each other. They have to. Those characters are just built from the same cloth. They have to connect, and not in a romantic way necessarily. I just want them to find each other and align on the mission. The Force must will them to find each other, please.
So that's an interesting concept about in the fuel, because that's how technically Han Solo started the rebellion.
Yeah,
it's over.
All right, I'm not gonna get in with Han Solo starting the rebellion, but yes, he helped steal the fuel for Enfys Nest, stir in the pot. But right, everyone has a finger in this, right? How many people started the rebellion? It's Bail, it's Mon Mothma, it's Han Solo, it's Enfys Nest, it's Warwick Davis's character. What's that? Luthen now. Luthen, shop girl, seems to be the one who's really in charge. Girl, I'm scared of her. So he's just ready to kill Cassian Andor, who saved the day. She doesn't know. And Vel's like, yeah, I guess I'll go kill that guy. I'd say the same thing, and I'd leave quickly and be like, we need to kill the shop girl. How do we kill her? That's the problem. So I'm scared of her.
So on camera now, because you wrote this as a comment when you were on Thursday. Mark, what was your impressions of a real live action Wolfie Lauren?
Oh, Wolfie Lauren. So I like him. I like the character. I'm amazed that the hero we know from the Clone Wars has turned out to be such a jerk. And like there is no saving him. It wasn't like an accident that he happened to be on the Death Star in A New Hope. I realize that all of this is a retcon, but like as I say all the time, lots of people join this military or that government, and you never know you're the bad guy when it's happening. Like history determines that at a later time usually. And so maybe he was on the wrong project and he's sitting on the Death Star being like, how the hell did I get here when I used to be like a hero of the Republic? But we've seen his slow progression. We saw it in Rebels that he's a jerk and he's like willing to take down like the insurrectionists, right? And maybe in his mind, though, they're terrorists. Here, though, you can feel it like he's turned, like he made his heel turn off camera.
Right.
And we are seeing him behave like a true villain. Like he is ready, willing, and able to take away your civil rights at like an alarming rate because of this like one thing. And he was ready to do it. And he had like actionable plans. So for me, I was like, oh, this is killer.
About it.
Yeah,
There's
it actually
no
like made my
politics
heart
in
sink.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, you know, obviously not. I mean, that George didn't view it that way. This is definitely not like not anti-Nazi propaganda. They look nothing like Nazis. They don't behave like Nazis. There aren't neo-Nazis in the new trilogy. I don't know what to tell you. It's definitely not political. That's Senate.
Because there's no politics in Star Wars.
I know. There's also no gay people. There's no women, not women with agency. Yeah, pay no attention to this lady that we've been talking about all episode.
There's no underwear in space in episode 1 of Andor.
That's
Carrie Fisher is somewhere smiling right now.
The ghost
yes.
of Carrie Fisher to come and slap somebody in charge of Andor.
That's right. She's gonna greet George at the pearly gates, like bra in hand, like very much so.
Sprinkle him with glitter.
Yes, I heard Billy Lord had glitter at Celebration.
She did at 2019. She had vials with her. And Ashley actually called it, our Ashley, that why Billy had a partition is because she was
for the glitter.
No,
because she was pregnant. Because she was pregnant. Yes, yes. Ashley told me that, and I was like, okay, I'll wait for confirmation before I say out loud that anyone is pregnant. But yes, Ashley did predict appropriately
because Billy would have been like her mom.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Probably not making out with people, but
well, she's married now. But like you know,
but still,
yeah.
She would have been a touchy-feely like her mother would have been. Oh,
absolutely. Meanwhile, American Horror Story just started, and she's in it, and she's playing this like scientist who's investigating like a disease spreading through deer on Fire Island. It's really weird. It's set in New York City this season, and it looks like it's a combination of like killers killing gay people at clubs and stuff, and the leather daddy scene, and then maybe the disease spreading through deer is like a beta version of AIDS. I don't know, it's messed up, but Billy Lord's in it and she's delightful as always. So if you love horror and you love American Horror Story and you love Billy Lord and you want to see some like really messed up stuff, like including people thrown into cages and tortured and all sorts of stuff, if that's your cup of tea after watching this, go check out the latest season of American
because we're
Horror
wholesome
Story with
here.
Billy Lord. Yeah,
and go check out the Unifying Force Halloween Spooky Season special that was live this past Sunday.
Wait, was that the one that just aired yesterday?
Yeah, that was yesterday. Was Spooky Season special.
Nice. And I gotta watch it tomorrow on the drive-in.
To the VTN tonight, so go check that one out.
So we have
Mark,
our spooky.
What's your spooky of Star Wars? That your favorite spooky moment?
Favorite spooky moment within Star Wars. Ooh. Well, we have a whole episode about this on Monday. For our show, me and Ashley, Rebels Revisit is doing our
in Star Wars outside of Rebels. Then,
yeah. So outside of Rebels, the Clone Wars has some really scary stuff, and it's mostly around the Night Sisters. I think that Mother Talzin, like, bringing Maul back from the dead is horrifying, and the way that like the dark side magic is usable in a way that we've never seen on screen before until we get to that little arc. Like we know so little about the dark side, and we see the way these women like manipulate this magic, like true magic in Star Wars, which is not something we really see. We see the Force, but like this is magic, and it is scary, and I don't like it. I'm gonna stay with. I'm scared of them the same way I'm scared of the shop girl in Andor. they're slightly above her.
For me, the scariest moment in Star Wars is somehow Palpatine returns.
Oh Jesus.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And not for the reasons that it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
that was the Arthur Fonzarelli moment of Star Wars.
I will tell you this.
Shark.
I had someone text me about this. They were like, Poe wouldn't know the answer. Like that's the best answer he has because the Resistance would have literally no intelligence as to how Palpatine returns. It would really just be somehow he returned. Now we can find out like from his side of the story how he returned, but like there's no way they would know. So it's like, oh, that's actually like spot on. Yeah, it shouldn't be like out there being like, I returned and this is how.
I wish someone asked him the question about that at the panel at New York Comic-Con if they asked Oscar. So what did you really think of that line?
Yeah. Oh my God, that person would have been dragged from the con.
No, I will say that if I was ever going to get anything signed, a Poe Dameron thing signed, I would absolutely have that line. So
I would kick you out of my line. I would refund your money.
Because
that is any part of that.
You are banned from all future cons. I get it. Like it's become that memeable moment though that people constantly go back to and use it to like sort of
Well, Screen Crush loves it.
Oh yes, I see it every day. Yeah,
I love that show. I love Screen Crush.
They have their breakdown of the Ant-Man trailer, which was very helpful because I did not know what happened in that trailer.
I was watching. Like wow, it's like I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, so I got to watch that because that Ant-Man trailer, plus also utilizing Elton John as the background music. That was to me that drew me in addition with music. So
that's another trope that's been going on where people find these like really classic songs and sometimes they slow them down and make it all moody and stuff. Right. Like I remember the Girls Just Want to Have Fun slowed down version for the Kraft Legacy, and I was like, what's happening here? But like that's it's a thing now.
The first Black Panther, Wakanda Forever was No Woman, No Cry. It was
that actually made me cry. Yeah, that was heartbreaking. That was done really well, but it is a trope. It's still happening.
That part is it's now that popular culture is using classical music as their score.
Yeah,
classic
rock.
That's think
about Black Widow
of our version of like classical. They go back that far to get classical music.
Oh, right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
But Black Widow, it was the stripped down version of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because it was set in the 90s, the whole opening credit scene. That makes sense. Oof.
But still, it's like, anyway, we
set the bar for length of episode.
Oh, well, I knew that. I mean, I knew going in, I was like, this is going to be a long one. I told my husband, I was like, don't wait up. Like, just, watch whatever you're going to watch. You can watch a movie. Well, I think at this point it's become like the Thursday night show. So, which I love. Like we get to do something a little bit different every week. I will tell you, next week on the show, we've got a pre-record. We want everyone to enjoy their Halloween night. Monday the 31st is obviously Halloween. I work for a Halloween company. I want you to buy costumes. I want you to go out there and party and celebrate. I'm going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It is a party. And then the following week we'll be at Rhode Island Comic-Con with the virtual Cantina family. And that's going to be a blast. And then we're back live on Monday the 7th for a continuing watch along of season 1 of Star Wars Rebels. So we're doing Vision of Hope and Call to Action, which are episodes 12 and 13. We're nearing the finale. But before that, make sure everyone watches Tales of the Jedi on Wednesday. That's going to be the thing. I'm sure that you guys are going to do an Andor watch along on Thursday, and then you'll probably talk Tales a little bit.
Well, so we're not going to talk Tales because as of Wednesday, we're putting on our 48-hour spoiler alert on Wednesday.
Right there.
However, next Tuesday, we're gonna open up the room at 7:00 Eastern, 4% Pacific, like we normally do for happy hour. But at 7:30, we did a delay so more people can come in. Okay. We're gonna next Tuesday, the 1st, we're gonna watch the Ahsoka arc of Tales, and then the following week on the 8th. We're going to do the same thing with Dooku from there. So please make sure you join us for that. Make sure that you join us for the Jedi Archives. They're starting in on phase 2 of the High Republic comic books. Also want to plug not only our TeePublic store, which you guys saw it first tonight, how we come up with new shirts. You see the new shirt right there. We also have a new Life Day shirt that actually says Wookiee Pride Day, which is Anthony Daniels.
Something like that.
or something like that. That's going to be released very shortly to get ready for get ready for Life Day. We're having our Life Day celebration on the 22nd of November.
And
on
for
Virtual Cantina Network.
explanation, that is an Anthony Daniels quote.
Yes,
that's not us just making that up. That is an Anthony Daniels quote.
Pride Day.
What are they going to do? It's like Wookiee Pride Day or something like that.
Jesus.
Yeah. But also we're taking orders for the last run of our Virtual Cantina hockey jerseys.
I have to get in on that. Don't let me forget.
Yes.
I'm gonna put that on you guys to not let me forget. I'm gonna write it down. But yeah, I need
I'm
that
also
hockey jersey.
We're also seeing you next week, so I can definitely let you do it. But I got mine at the first round, and the quality is incredible. The stitching, the side patch is my favorite part of the entire thing with VCN
it looks really
logo.
Cool.
You
very excited about that.
A lot of those in person at Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of us are wearing that Rhode Island.
I'm in costume all 3 days, so I will actually be wearing some De Nuo Novo Imperial Officer uniforms.
You got to start your brand. I get it.
Yeah. I finally have like the whole outfit because things are finally coming in.
Well, we look forward to seeing Mark Thron-Holland.
Yeah. I will probably Grand Admiral one of the days. So yeah, that makes sense.
I want to see you in the elaborate cape.
The cape is a lot, but I may put it on for maybe just the meetup since it is a thing and it drags. The thing is long and almost hits the floor. We actually didn't make it hit the floor for safety reasons, but like it really should hit the floor, but like you can't be doing that. So
no, I understand you have to wear your own brand. I used to go to Comic-Cons and buy actual shirts to go around different shirts, and now I feel guilty if I'm not wearing something VCN when I go to a show.
I'll probably throw one of these on for the meetup or something, like and for my autograph session. Get your wristbands, kids. Yeah, exactly. Ashley and I are gonna be sitting there like, just waiting for the timer to go off. So
you'll be like Virgil at a Comic-Con.
Oh no. I will tell you, I've been to Comic-Con, some of the small scale ones where like people they get like a 6-foot table and they just hang out for the day. Like, if they meet someone, great, but I think they're there to like mingle and, and maybe sign some like private for, bulk signings or whatever. But, it's, how some of these conventions go. Rhode Island, however, I think every line's going to be packed. It always is. Rhode Island is like a crazy show. So I actually think if there's a way, like I would recommend getting pre-orders. I was saying before the show started, I don't have any pre-orders set yet, but I'm going to get Keone Young. And I'm probably I'm definitely gonna get a few others from the Star Wars list, but I've got to make my list and go through it again and make sure.
I spoke to Frank before the show, and he's like, I didn't order anybody yet either. I'm like, dude, how am I the one who's already like Dave, Skip, and I talk about every week. We talk about our list.
I've got pre-orders, and I'm adding to it like every week.
Yeah,
I've got to get on it. Well, I've been drowning in Halloween stuff really, and then De Nuo Novo nonsense, but we know we're going, so we have a hotel and tickets to the show, and we're going to drive up. So like we're Jason's like, when we get there, we sort of play this one like pretty loose because like we've been so many times, and it's not like I've met Steve Cardenas, right? He's one of the Red Rangers from Power Rangers. Right. And maybe if I wanted to meet him again, I would just jump in that line. But other than like Alicia Silverstone, there's no one who like I don't think I'll be able to find anywhere else where like there needs to be like a real push to like, we might have to wait in that line, because she's really cheap too. $60 is very cheap, I think, for Alicia Silverstone.
Everybody's reasonable for this con considering the amount of people that are there.
Yeah, I mean, even Amy Dumas, right? That's Lita. Like she's only $50. Like, Ahmed Best is only $40. Like that's crazy.
Bargain. I bought one and went back and bought more after that. I was like, no.
Yeah. Bonnie Piez is $40. I don't know what I want her to sign yet though, because like I really want something from the new Obi-Wan.
I'm gonna get a print, and I want her to write "We're enough" on it for the quote from Obi-Wan. Big one though. Dave wants to get a sawed-off shotgun for her to sign.
I want.
You can't bring that in.
Research and make that blaster, Mark. That's what we need.
Oh Jesus! Here's
shotgun blaster.
We're getting real deep. If we're gonna do like the gun for Bonnie Piez, we're in a deep territory. But yes, I would like her to. I think start like it would be good to start a piece with her.
I'm having her put on my piece that I have. That I have a lot of the cast already from Obi-Wan on already.
That would be cool. All right,
Anyway.
guys, I know we're way over time. Do we need to plug anything else before we go? So tomorrow, happy hour. Thursday, watch along for Andor, the next episode. Wednesday, watch Tales of the Jedi. The following Tuesday, Tales of the Jedi watch along on the happy hour. My Monday coming up, the pre-record for our spooky watch along for Halloween. Of course, don't watch it on Halloween. Go out and enjoy Halloween. Watch it the next day. And then we're back to the regular scheduled live stuff on November 7th, which will be after Rhode Island Comic Con. Yeah, it is a lot.
Yes.
I think that's everything, right?
Yes. Thank you very much, Mark, for having us on tonight. We knew there was hell to pay once, you put the three amigos on your show. So
this is exactly what I was looking for. This is great. So Ashley's going to love watching this episode back. She's like, what the hell happened?
Went off the rails.
Hell broke loose.
We actually finished the list in a timely manner.
We did the list. Yeah. The rest of it is just flourish. So yeah, but thank you everyone for joining us. Cats. Yeah, we'll see all of you guys at the rest of the VCN content. Oh, and watch Dave's episode from yesterday of Unifying Force.
Yes.
The spooky episode. So I gotta watch tomorrow.
A different setup, it looked like. So I haven't watched yet, but
yeah, as I was on a remote location, so it's
a little different.
But nice. We'll have to check it out. All right. Well, with that, everyone, we'll see you across the VCN this week. Have a good night. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Topper says bye-bye. Let's get this down here. Whoops.